Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, I'm working hard to get my Sandblast cabinet done. I really want to give this Cerakote thing a good go. I'm
You're
working hard
building
at
like
it.
a no joke sandblast cabinet, like CNC'd or laser cut or something out of steel and welded. I mean, if this doesn't work out for you, at least you're gonna have a good sandblast cabinet to sell.
Yeah, yeah. I took some scrap metal we had laying around the shop, did a 3D programming CAD, did all the parts, water jetted them all out. So there's a couple pieces all fitted in there, like you could see in the pictures. But yeah, I mean, cabinets are expensive, man, for a decent one. So I thought I can build one of these.
Don't like Harbor Freight and places like that have some cheap sandblast cabinets?
But they're tiny. I mean, my arms and my shoulders don't quite work in those things. I checked one out. I'm like, nah, I need something that's at least 3 feet wide, about 18 inches front to back. But yeah, this thing's no joke, man. I built a nice funnel, little 4 inch catch at the bottom. I'll have legs on it when I'm done.
Nice. Now, what media are you going to use? Because I've heard that the media matters for not only the surface finish, but also for Cerakote's adhesion. Are you going to use glass beads? Are you going to use sand? What are you going to use?
They're recommending that you use between 100 and 120 grit aluminum oxide.
Okay.
And something, I'm not a sandblast guy, but from what I'm understanding, the aluminum oxide, which looks like sand to me,
Hmm.
is supposed to be sharper. So it's supposed to cut in, I guess, better.
Hmm. I'd be interested to
So
see how that aluminum works on aluminum.
yeah, so it doesn't look like an aluminum. I mean, it looks like normal garnet, but yeah, I ordered I think a 10 pound or 15 pound bag. It's not very big, came in a little bucket. Um, so even with the sandblast cabinet, I mean, I'm welding all the seams real quick, and I'm not
Hmm.
even doing a really good lid. I'm doing one out of wood with plexiglass. But if it works, then I can upgrade my cabinet as it stands and continue with it. But yeah, I'm going all out, man. I'm gonna give it the best run I can. I'm hoping to do so before I sandblast. I got some water-based paint for the airbrush. I'm hoping to do that this weekend and do a test spray run, and then I can sandblast that off when I sandblast it.
That's awesome, man. I'm hoping it works out. And you guys with the
Right?
Cerakote stuff, maybe you can go to Jason to get some stuff done. No guarantees for like the first 100 he does though, so he gets good at it. You can practice on yours.
Yeah, yeah. Either this is going to be awesome or it's going to be an epic failure. So we'll see.
Now, for everyone that's maybe thinking about doing this on their own or wants to know what's involved, of course, we talk a lot about Rocket FFL because that's one of my side ventures to help people get their FFLs and then learn about ATF compliance. And one of the things you will learn in there if you take the course is if you're going to do things like Cerakote, you need an FFL if you're doing actual firearms parts, right? Because people are going to be sending you firearms through the mail, so you need a federal firearms license to do it. And also, just the act of Cerakoting firearms counts as gunsmithing activity to the ATF. So you'd need an FFL for that as well. So you're going to get one of those, I assume.
Yeah. So all this is all test running for the direction I want to go with my FFL.
Okay.
So yeah, this is all test phase.
Hmm.
It's personal rifle for me this go around, but yeah, if it works the way I want it to work, then yeah, that's definitely the avenue I want to head down.
Good. Now, so as you know, the ATF and the State Department have different definitions of manufacturing, and the ATF defines manufacturing more like making a new gun or making a gun for sale to a consumer new. So the prior chief of the Firearms Technology Branch, now called the Firearms and Ammunition Technology Division, or FATD is what they call it. I do not know what they were thinking about that acronym, FATD, but that's actually what they call it. Is anyway, I digress. They actually use that definition on whether you're doing it on a customer provided firearm, like someone walks into your shop and says, "Hey, I want you to do this to my gun." That's not manufacturing. That's just gunsmithing. But if you do the same thing to a gun from your inventory with the intent to sell it, that same activity could be considered manufacturing, and you need a manufacturing license. Now the problem is, State Department's definition is completely different. And with Cerakote, you're safe though. So under the State Department, you're not a manufacturer that would need to register under ITAR. So if you wanted to do this for new guns, you could get a Type 7, Jason, to be a manufacturer FFL. and you would not have to register under ITAR and pay that ridiculous fee every year because the State Department came out last summer and they actually gave guidance on, what we think manufacturing is or is not. And strangely to me, they went through a whole bunch. This is not the strange part, but they went through a whole list of things. If you are installing a scope, that's not manufacturing, but if you're drilling and tapping the scope base, that is manufacturing. And they went back and forth, and they specifically said Cerakoting is not manufacturing, and that was weird to me because a government agency called out a name brand, right? Because Cerakote has become so popular in the firearms industry, we call it Cerakoting now, kind of like you call tissues Kleenex or inline skates roller blades. Cerakote's taken over that much that even the federal government is writing things like Cerakoting does not require it. And of course they mean gun coat and Duracoat and all the other stuff that you can do to a gun, but they called it out by name. So think about that when you're getting your Type 1 or your Type 7, what you're going to do. You're going to offer them for sale. You're going to do them to customer guns. You got your Type 7, you're covered, and that for the first 3 years anyway, your Type 7 manufacturer's FFL is cheaper, ironically, and you won't have to do that ITAR registration until you decide to start actually cutting chips. That's what I call it. So if you're cutting onto a gun where you're going to end up with metal shavings on your floor, that's kind of the test I use. It's not absolute, but it's a good way to think about it, is if when you're done with the project, there's metal shavings somewhere, you probably need to register under ITAR. But doing what you're doing, which is a cosmetic finish, you won't need to. So that's good news.
Now, would that you still have to do the ITAR thing if I start manufacturing ARs, even though there's no metal shavings per se.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's where like my analogy breaks down. Now you can do. It actually says the occasional assembly. You don't need to register. So the State Department came out and said occasional assembly. Now who knows what occasional means? The first person that goes to jail. That's how we figure out what occasional means. So if you did a couple a year, is that occasional? I would say so, but the State Department might say not. That might be regular if you did a couple every year. So be careful with that one. But they do allow for occasional assemblies, not manufacturing. Now, you definitely need a Type 7 FFL for that, not only because you might be making them yourself, but if you want someone else to make your lowers, which is, by the way, what almost everybody in the industry does, is they have somebody else make the lower with their name on it. You have to get a marking variance, or actually they do. They're the ones that have to get the marking variance. They can make it with your name on it. But they can't make a marking variance for you, for Jason Enterprises, unless you have a manufacturer's FFL on record. So I don't cut chips. I mean, for my ARs that I make for people, I have a mill or a CNC machine. I'm having them made for me, but I had to get that Type 7 anyway, not only because I'm assembling them, but also because I could never get the paperwork approved to have those things made for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So have you been hunting at all, man?
No, I haven't done anything. We were going to try to go squirrel hunting this weekend with Jared and my dad, and it just didn't work out with all the Thanksgiving activities and
Yeah, I get it.
all the holiday stuff. But it worked out anyway. We did a bunch of shopping for ourselves. I ordered a bunch of ammo, ordered 2 red dot sights. I ordered pretty much everything for this build other than the barrel and the gas block. Just couldn't beat all the sales.
Oh, no doubt. So we talked a little bit earlier. You didn't go that crazy, though. You picked up a good bunch of stuff. You picked up some gifts and some ammo for yourself and things like that, right?
Right. Yeah, I did. Palmetto State had the 1,000 rounds of 55 grain full metal jacket bolt tails for $299 with a $50 mail-in rebate through American Eagle. So I got a couple of those.
That's awesome.
They had a good sale on the Vortex red dots, which was the Spark and the Strike Fire 2.
Mm-hmm.
Those were $120 each. And then, of course, through Brownells, I got lower parts kit, and Palmetto had a nickel boron bolt carrier for $89. So yeah, I took advantage of this build and
why
this
not?
whole project.
So speaking of taking advantage of sales, I've had so many people asking either about advertising, if we're going to do it or not, or ways to support the show. I've had a lot of people actually say I should join Patreon, which the best I can tell is a website you join. I'm a little behind on this one, where people can give money just to support the show. And that's cool and all, but Jason and I aren't doing this to make the money off of it. We're doing this because it's fun and the chance for us to talk about guns and educate you guys. And as far as advertising goes, I'm the advertiser, right? I get away with saying all my side projects and you guys to join. But all that being said, if you're looking at ammo and you're looking for good deals, you guys have to check out Lucky Gunner. I just pasted a link in the comments on Facebook if you guys are following along, and I'll put this in the show notes for the podcast for those of you that are listening to this not live later. If you guys go use that link and you check out the amazing deals that Lucky Gunner has, it lets Jason and I wet our beaks a little bit. So what it does is it gives us a small portion of your sale. It doesn't charge you any more money at all. It's just a little extra love for Jason and I that we will use to put into the show to either do giveaways or to do our builds and things like that. And so please go check out Lucky Gunner. Even just go click on it, go check out the website, see what they have to offer, keep them in mind. And if you want to buy something later, we'd really appreciate it. But builds, did you see what I put on my Facebook page, Jason, that I thought we should do for a project?
I did, actually, which would be the Glock 80% lower and the kit. I did.
So I've already ordered everything, and it should arrive in the next couple days. So I just went crazy, and I just ordered every single part that I want to do for it. And I'm actually doing a write-up now, and I think I'm halfway through, but it's probably more like a third because there's so much to write there. And what I'm doing is I'm comparing every single part to possibly get. And then at the end of each part for the decision, like I start with the lower. Here's the frame. Here are your options. For a slide, here are your options. The slide parts, the lower part. So I'm going through, I'm laying everything out in one giant article. And for each piece, at the bottom of each section, for the frame or for the slide, I'm putting a little tiny chart. And I'm putting I think it's the non-Glock or the all-Glock build, as much Glock as possible, because you can't do the frame Glock if you're making it yourself. So I have the actual part and a link right to it so you can find where I found the best price online for like the Glock slide just by itself. And then I put a line for the non-Glock, like the most budget non-Glock build. So you can end up with a truly non-Glock Glock if you want to do that one. And then I put my choice. So for every option, I have those three lists all the way down. So you can, if you want to build it as many Glock parts as possible, you want to do not, or my choice of like a dream gun I would build. And at the end of the article, I'm putting the entire builds. So if you want to do the mostly Glock, I'll have every single part listed out to everywhere I bought it, kind of like we did with the El Cheapo build, a link to everything for people to build it. And then I'll have a whole table, not a chart, I keep saying chart, a table of all the budget non-Glock builds, so the least expensive way you can do it and still have no Glock factory parts in it. And then I'll have a table of what I kind of did as my, I don't know why I call it dream build, because I didn't go crazy on it, but the parts that I thought would be neat to select. So hopefully you guys will follow along with this project as I talk about how hard it was to actually make, or how easy it was to make that lower. Drill and Dremel that plastic out into a Glock frame or a Glock style frame. And then all the parts I used and whether they fit, whether they worked, how I liked them, things like that. So it'll give you guys a chance not only to see the project from soup to nuts as Jason and I figure this out, but if you want to do it yourself, at least I'm learning now for things like this podcast that you guys will be able to go right along with me and either make the same decisions I did or avoid the mistakes I made, and you can get the parts out. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So I'm hiding everything I did. I'm already excited about some of the parts I did. It's going to cost more. So no matter what I did, even the budget build, it costs more than getting a Glock. I think the cheapest I can get is about the price you can get like a high retail Glock for. But it's not meant to be cheaper than a Glock. It's meant to be a project where you can. One of the beauties of AR-15s and Glocks is how much you can customize them, right? So guys that want to build their ARs, yeah, you and I built them cheaper than you could buy them at the time. But really, it's kind of a why waste your money. If you're going to buy an AR-15 and you're going to be replacing right away the gas block and the handguards and the butt stock and the trigger, maybe it doesn't make sense to buy a complete AR just to throw these extra parts in the trash can. Maybe it makes sense to build. And I'm thinking that's kind of like this with the Glock, is that I'm able to individually pick and choose every single part I want without wasting money on a factory part that I'm just going to have to take off and throw away. So I think that's kind of good.
Nice. Oh, and I had a correction too.
Go ahead.
I didn't say on the Cerakote.
Jason, go.
I'm going to make a quick correction from last time. You were asking what colors of Cerakote that I got.
Yeah.
And I did not end up with gunmetal gray.
Good.
I got sniper gray with graphite black.
Perfect. The sniper gray is my favorite Cerakote color by far. I have guns that are done just in sniper gray completely, just because it's such a cool gray.
So correction on what's going to happen when it gets done, and I'll show photos as it comes along. But yeah, not gunmetal gray, sniper gray.
That's awesome. Good. That you're gonna like that. It's a darker gray. I think they'll look cooler. It won't be so contrast. So Bill Haney on the Facebook Live comments as he's following along just asked, "Do I have any thoughts on using a 22 long rifle for training long range, like a CZ 455?" Yes, best 22 bolt action I think you can get at 100 plus yards. Any transferable skills or ability, or are they two different beasts? Bill, I think that's the best way to go. I have guys. A very common question I get for having a training rifle is, should I get 223 or should I practice with 223 or 556 because it's cheaper and because it's affected by the wind more and because I can get cheap bulk ammo for it, not only cheaper for the rifle but for the ammo? No, please don't do that. That's actually, I think that's not a good idea. Not only are you going to spend so much money on the firearm and on the ammo, I mean, it's cheaper than match grade 6.5 or 308 or whatever else you're using. I don't think that's as transferable. And the reason is, if you're doing it as a training rifle, getting that 223 556 likely means you're going to be getting the cheap bulk ammo. Well, if you're getting cheap bulk ammo, you're never going to get the accuracy results that you want, right? So I encourage people to think about accuracy as a cone as it goes out from you to the target. And the accuracy or inaccuracy stacks upon itself. So in my book, in the Long Range Shooting Handbook, great Christmas gift, go get one, a simple plug, I mention how you don't add accuracy to a firearm with parts or by doing something to the rifle. You actually just reduce the amount of accuracy lost. So let me dive into that real quick. Is the barreled action is the most accurate part of that gun that you're going to have. You've locked the barreled action into a vise and shot it with the best ammo possible. You're going to have the best accuracy that gun can get. Now, you use worse ammo, you're going to get less accuracy. If you put a bad stock on it or a bad trigger that makes it so it's hard to shoot or a bad scope, all these other things you can do to that system can actually reduce the accuracy that's remaining, and it takes that cone and it increases the size of the cone. Or to be better, it stacks the inaccuracy, right? That barrel and that receiver are going to fire within a certain minute of angle. Then you add a bad stock, now you're going to add more inaccuracy to it, and the problem is those cones kind of can shift and stack. So if your gun shoots 2 minutes and your ammo shoots 3 minutes, that doesn't mean that you're going to end up with a 3 minute of angle group on the target, because that's like the worst. No, you're going to end up with possibly like a 5 minute. Actually, no. So it's a 2 minutes. It could be 1 inch to the right of where you're aiming because you're thinking of a 2-inch circle. Worst case scenario, the bullet could end up an inch to the right or an inch to the left, to the limits of that 2-inch circle. We're using 3 minute of angle ammo. That means the ammo could be up to 1.5 inches off of, at 100 yards, wherever the barrel was pointed. So you might get that one round for the barrel was going to cause it to be 1 inch right, and the ammo caused it to be 1.5 inches further right. So you're going to end up with 2.5 inches to the right. But sometimes the barrel is going to cause that inch right, and the ammo is going to cause 1.5 inches left, which will be a net result of a 1/2 inch left of where you're aiming. So these two cones kind of interact and can, move and either add or subtract to each other. And the problem with that is when you use that 223 stuff, because you're trying to get cheap ammo, you have no idea what you're actually doing. So all that wind, all that elevation you're trying to practice and learn with, I think goes out the window because you're using crap. Now, if you use a 22, not only is it much cheaper to get the rifle, I mean, a CZ455, in my opinion, is the best consumer level bolt action 22 you can get. You can get it for a few $100. Much cheaper than a 223 of the same accuracy. And then you can go buy match grade 22 long rifle ammo for way cheaper than centerfire rifle ammo. So you can actually, at 100 yards or less, get great practice on trigger control, sight alignment, sight picture, everything you need to do to make the shot count for you, right? Because up until you make the gun fire, it's all about you. Only after that is about the gun and the ammo. And you can learn, Bill, by getting good groups of that 22 that'll completely translate to the bigger rifle. I don't think recoil is the problem. I think the reason that you miss the target is bad position or improper trigger control or the wrong dope or misreading the wind. The recoil might make a flinch, of course, but I don't think practicing over and over with a giant recoil is actually going to get rid of a flinch. If anything, it might make the flinch. You guys know I'm a huge proponent of dry fire practice. 22 is the next best thing, Bill. It's not quite dry fire. It actually gives you feedback. So, yes, you want a cheap trainer, get a 22, and you can even get, I think it's Voodoo Tactical, Voodoo Gunworks, Voodoo something. They make a 700 blueprint 22. So the receiver is the exact same blueprint as a Remington 700. So it fits in a Magpul stock, it fits in a Manor stock, fits in whatever stock you have on your tactical rifle probably. So you can get the same size and weight and everything, same bolt, same feel, and it's just a 22. So I think that's the best way to go if you're going to get a training rifle besides your main rifle. Jason, what do you think about that?
Oh, I can contest to it. I mean, look at when this all started, and I had the AAC rifle, and I bought cheap ammo, went out and was not happy at all because I wasn't shooting groups that I knew I could shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And you were all over me. You're like, you got to get match grade ammo. And I'm like, but why, man? I got this ammo. What's wrong with this ammo? So yeah, so when I was starting off, it was very frustrating with the cheap full metal jacket ammo. It was very frustrating.
Yeah.
Now, in retrospect for me, I bought match grade ammo and it got way better, but I still ended up getting those Spire points, which aren't very expensive, and shot the best with those.
I wish I got money from Hornady for doing it. I was actually just emailing Steve Hornady this morning, but so I need to go talk to Hornady and be like, hey guys, I'm selling bullets here. Yeah, you guys want that stuff that Jason and I talk about? I stumbled across it by accident because I would just get the 6,000 round boxes direct from Hornady. I went, holy smokes, these little 55 grain Spire points from Hornady work. Now, 2 people emailed me links to the soft point 55 grain ammo they found from other manufacturers online. They're like, hey Ryan, look what I found. Look at this good deal. And I was like, no, stop, full stop. Only those Hornady Spire point 55 grains, for my experience, shoot just as good as match grade ammo out to 100 or 200 yards. So hey, you guys, we got Chris Lavallee on. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's kind of like a celebrity here. Chris has he think he won the Governor's Cup. Chris, jump in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong. For like the state of Texas, which might as well be its own country. Chris and I have actually taught together out at Texas Triggers. Super good dude. You guys, I don't know if he's putting any content out. Chris, you should, but if you're not, you guys need to check him out or follow him, or ask him questions if you want. Chris is a great dude. I'm glad to have him on. So, trying to see some other comments here. Great episode. You use 17 HMR. That's awesome. I want to convert my 455 to 17 HMR. But the only reason I haven't is I love it so much in 22. I think I would miss it. I miss it's not as high tech as the 17 HMR or high performance, but man, there's just something neat about shooting a bolt action 22 with a can on it. So Bradley says he's not able to listen live. I hope it's not a problem with technology. You guys let me know if you're still hearing okay. So, Jason, I asked about hunting because I finally got to go hunting this weekend. It has been forever since I've actually just gone out to the field, man. I actually thought about it, and there was gear I was wearing. There was a shirt I was wearing that I didn't think I had for that long. I did the math. I'm like, oh man, I've had this shirt for 20 years. That's like a sign I'm getting old when I start adding up my gear like that. But I actually got to go out hunting. Tennessee deer hunting is very different than Arizona deer hunting. You can't really stalk at all. I tried. We actually got out and walked around and got into the area on foot, which is nice. But I learned real quick when I moved to the south that it doesn't work like Arizona. Arizona, you can grab a bow, and you can actually go walk around with a pair of binoculars, find the deer, and then go sneak up on them, which I think is the funnest part of the hunt. Funnest, I don't know which one's right. But because you can actually stalk, and to me that's the cool part about hunting and getting close to the bow. Here in the south, I learned real quick. I actually tried last year. I grabbed my bow, and I went to walk out from my house onto my property, and it was just crunch in the leaves, and the woods are so thick I could hear deer 100 yards away running away from me. It's just like, well, this is stupid. There's no way this is going to work. So I had to do a tree stand, which I hate tree stand hunting just because it's boring versus stalk hunting. But I had to get a tree stand, and I actually went out rifle hunting. It has been forever. It has probably been 25 years since I've hunted with a rifle. So it was neat to do it. But I actually borrowed a rifle. Did you see the pictures of the rifle I had?
I did.
Dude, that thing's cool. What I had is a Barrett Fieldcraft. For the price, it's an amazing rifle. Now, for everyone listening, yes, I definitely recommend it after using it. I used it 2 days in a row. Amazing rifle. But if you're on a budget, I still think Tikka's the way to go. But that Barrett Fieldcraft, I think, is 5.5 pounds. So a couple times when I was walking, I had my right hand on the grip, Jason, and I just held it out in front of me like a pistol and realized, I mean, a pistol weighs close to 5 pounds, depending on if you have a heavy pistol or not, right? I mean, I imagine, I have no idea. I shouldn't be making this up, but I imagine an all steel pistol fully loaded would be close to that. And so I'm like holding it up in my hand like it was a pistol, this whole rifle. I mean, you could just move it around like it was nothing. It was so incredibly light. And I had it in 6.5 Creedmoor, so I was shooting 140 grain bullets out of it. It was awesome. Dropped a deer just fine. Ended up got a deer back at the pro. It took a shot longer than I really kind of wanted to. And I thought about it a lot later going, man, I usually harp about people on this, like actually not extending the shot, but extending the stock. But sure enough, I was in a tree stand, and right towards the end of when I was going to get out, I finally saw a deer walk by, and I'm like, I want some meat for my freezer, so that boy's going down. So I took him down and then walked over and got him. But in the second morning, we saw nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing for deer. So when we got done, me and my buddy met down on a road we had predetermined and thought, well, let's shoot some steel, because he had some steel targets up on his property. So we drove up to the top of a ridge, and I was just trying to stretch out that fieldcraft to see what it can do. I mean, it's light, so light that it's kind of hard to shoot for groups. You know what I mean? When a gun gets so light, it's hard to hold still. Even
Right.
just like getting my finger just prepped on the trigger, I could feel the whole gun move, because it was just like this little like magic wand sitting out in front of me. So it was very hard to keep stable. But we were shooting at different distances and stretched it out to about 640. We got the dope on it, and it was getting great hits. I think if you took an average of everything, I was getting a minute of angle at 640, so I was getting about a 6-inch group, which I'm
Nice.
happy with that. Out of a super lightweight, rifle and barrel, it was awesome. And so just to show off, I picked up and slung up and got in the seated position. So crossed my ankles and kind of leaned forward a little bit. And my buddy's sitting there watching. I'm like, oh man, I better make this shot. I break the shot, and I'm lucky as can be. Ding, 640-yard first round hit on that thing from a supported position, which was awesome. But then, like an idiot, I kept trying it, and of course, I should have just stopped, because from the knee and from the seat, I don't know if I hit it one more time or not. I'm not sure, but I definitely was zinging them left and right on either side of the target because the wind was going through the valleys and the hills, and I just wasn't being that accurate. It's also very hard with that light of a rifle, but man, that was a fun little rifle to shoot, and it actually had a scope I'd never used before. It was the Vortex Razor LH. I don't know what LH stands for, Long Hunter or something like that. It's their hunting scope. Have you seen that?
I've not seen that one.
All right, so it's a 1-inch tube, and it looks like a hunting scope. So it looks like one of their lower end scopes, like one of their Diamondbacks or something like that. So it's just
Right.
not tactical looking at all. Capped turrets, smaller. I was shooting a 2 to 10 power one, but it was a Razor. So it was the Razor line. So I was like, oh, this is kind of nice, and amazingly clear. It tracked really well, even though I was scared, because I take the cap off, you see this little tiny turret like you would normally see on a cheaper hunting scope. And it tracked great. 14 and a half minutes got us the 640. And the reticle was really cool. It was they called it their BDC reticle. It comes with two options. It's the less tactical of the two. It has a little tiny dot for the aiming point, and then a little bullet drop compensating kind of reticle below it. And man, at that distance even, it was fine having that little dot on there. I kind of want to pick one up, even though my favorite hunting scope is probably still the Leupold 2.5 to 8, just because it's such a small, light scope. But anyway, there's my feedback. That Barrett Fieldcraft shot awesome. That scope shot awesome. And it was fun getting out, and it's not going to be nice to have some meat in the freezer finally.
That's awesome. Now, did you
Uh,
show off to your neighbors and butcher it up in your garage and hang it up?
no, no, I didn't. Dude, it is so cheap to get things processed here. So you and I are used to like going to Seavers or something like that in town, right? And you have like sometimes it's like temporary buildings and like or someone's garage or I mean I'm not saying
Oh,
it's not redneck out there, but it's not exactly confidence inspiring for the cleanliness of those places. This place was amazing. This is a place I've never even heard of. It was just local to where I was at. My buddy's like, "Oh, there's this place down the road. Let's go drop it off real quick." I said, "Well, don't we need to skin it first?" He goes, "No, why?" Well, I'm used to Arizona where you're gonna bake the dang thing if you don't skin it. He's like, "Oh
that's
no, no,
great.
no." He's like, "Oh no, don't worry about it." I'm like, "Well, don't we need to field dress it like before you pick it up?" He's like, "Oh no, no, they field dress it for you for $10." It's like that's the best $10 ever spent. So we literally just picked the thing up and drove his truck down to it, threw it in the back of the truck, went to the processors. They had like big garage bays with nice clean floors and like all these like high school, college kids back there making money processing deer. It was just amazingly clean, amazing like process. It was really cool. Like, wow, that was easy. I think I was out in under $100 for everything. So I want to go try and slice some more deer if I want, if I can. Tennessee's got a crazy limit. So Arizona, you got one deer a year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, here it's 3 does a day for the entire season. And if you include archery, I think you have like September 18th to like February 10th. You can get 3 does every single day if you want. I did the math. You can get like 380 deer a year if you want. And then $2. So you can have $2 total for the season and 300 and change does if you want them. So I actually was thinking about going and buying a new freezer on a Black Friday sale just to fill it with
There
deer.
you go. Now, are they small deer back there?
They're small deer. Yeah. So I got a deer that I think had a pretty good sized body to it compared to the other deer that I've seen around just either in my yard or just around. And it was still light enough that my buddy and I just picked it up and tossed it in the back of his truck. You know, if I got 50 pounds of meat out of it, I'd be surprised. Or I'd be not surprised, I'd be happy.
Meat, man.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's how small it is. If I got 50 pounds of meat out of it, I'd be happy. How about that? Now, the good news about the deer out here is they actually taste good. So I hate the taste of Arizona deer. Sorry, man. Maybe I'm spoiled on elk, but elk is so good. Deer is just so gamey from the Southwest. And the deer out here is amazing. It's not near as gamey. I have friends that'll drop off the summer sausages of deer or the deer jerky or all sorts of stuff like that. And, man, my family eats it up. Like, I have to keep the kids away from the deer jerky or they'll eat the whole bag. It tastes completely different out here. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, too, when we get the Alaskan deer, the Sitka deer brought down, you know, when the boys are out there for the summer. Yep. I mean, it's so much better than the deer here, and unfortunately, I agree with you.
So Steven asked, where do I find the Spire points cheap? Well, no matter where I find them, the Spire points are usually the cheapest option of all the bullets. Like if you actually go into the 224 caliber bullets, which is what you use for reloading 223, go figure, and you sort by price, it's usually the cheapest. Wouldn't you agree, Jason?
Yeah, so I usually buy them from
you're buying the
Cabela's
loaded cartridge, though. Yeah.
Loaded cartridge. It's a box of 50. I think they're normally $27.99, but when they're on sale, you can get them for $22.99, which is still pretty cheap for 50 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually just stockpile when they have them on sale, you know, for that $5 off or whatever.
Right. So the actual bullet itself, if you're reloading, I just usually go into bullets. That's how actually I think I found them and wanted to even try them out. You know, is not only just a connection with Hornady, just knowing people or looking online and trying to find good deals. But you go to any website and you sort by price, you'd be surprised. They're probably going to be the cheapest one available, or at least tied with the cheapest one available. I have a link here for Brownells if you guys want. I just found some. I will put it on in the comments right now, so you can jump in and see it. And this is the same thing. If you follow this link, it gives us a little bit of love, so I'd appreciate it. Go check it out. And even if you don't get these bullets, you get something else from Brownells. It helps support us, so I really appreciate it. So cool. Where's that at, Steven? I think you're mentioning the processors. I need to find it out. It's in War Trace, I think is where it's at. I'll go check it out. So I'm just trying to keep with the comments. Wow. So sorry, guys. Steven says, just bought the Geisley SDE for $175. It's an awesome trigger. I don't even know what the SDE is. Do you know what that is, Jason?
No, the only one as far as I've gotten, is the SSA, which was on my SPR build.
Yeah.
I did see Geisley had a bunch of stuff on sale on Palmetto State for Black Friday over the whole weekend.
Even Geisley themselves, they do good sales on their website, so that's cool. So, wow, too many comments here. One of my thoughts on the primary arms reticle, I don't know. I've seen a bunch of their reticles. I haven't studied them, Ryan, so I appreciate you joining and asking. I'm just not up to speed on them. I've heard they make some value scopes. This is going to sound optics snobby, but I don't think they're quite up to precision rifle specs. Maybe for what I would like, but I'm willing to try one out if you guys tell me I'm wrong. Yeah. Steven said the dogs are like German shepherds with longer legs. Yeah, they're not exactly big. Or or deer get around here get a lot of corn. Yeah, I have actually some neighbors that hunt up in Kentucky because that's where they're from. And in Kentucky, apparently, you can shoot them out from underneath the deer stand, the corn feeder. So you just got to make sure you got to pick the corn out of their teeth before you take the picture. But Ty asked for my thoughts on BDC reticles in general. Well, I have an answer on that. But Jason, what do you think about BDC reticles? You know, they have the hash marks for the supposed predetermined distances. What do you think?
I think they suck.
See, I kind of like them for certain purposes, right? So for this hunting rifle I had, man, the BDC reticle is awesome. Even the Leupold 2.5 to 8 that I like so much has a BDC reticle, and I love it because it's for hunting. I'm not trying to shoot awesome groups. Matter of fact, I don't even know if I'm going to know the exact distance to the animal. Although I did bring my SIG Kilo 2400 out there just for fun as I was lasing squirrels while I'm sitting there in a tree stand. Probably blinding the poor things.
To be fair, I've not tried one in a really good high quality scope. So
no, it's not going to matter. Because what you don't like is it's not going to be dead on. So that's going to be the same in a high quality scope.
Yeah. So I mean, it didn't work for me. I mean, what it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be built to, you know, the .223 caliber, and every mark was supposed to be at a certain spot, and it was way off. I literally had to draw a picture and shoot all the distances and start marking where it was in the scope, and then you know, stuff it up in the stock. So if I had to use it, I could just look at my little cheat sheet, you know, and figure out where to put it. But
the ones that are for a specific caliber are not going to work. They're not going to be dead on. Now, the Vortex one that I was using in that scope and the Leupold one that I like, they actually don't say it for a certain caliber. They just, even if you look at the Leupold manual, they give you a chart or a table that says, you have 3 hash marks here. The first hash mark tends to be about 200 yards for most Magnum calibers. But if you're shooting, or like 150 yards for most Magnum calibers, but 200 if it's not a Magnum. And the second tick mark ends up being about 275 for most non-Magnum and 250 for Magnum. So it kind of just gives you a ballpark range. So I like that because it's only got 3 little tick marks that are easy to see. You know, either the tip of the post or a couple tick marks. Then you can, at the range, figure out what that is. And again, I'm not trying to do precision shooting. I'm going to learn that for my load of my gun, that first tick mark is about 225. So for hunting, you can see that's pretty easy. If you and you only have to write it down because you're going to know what that first tick mark is. You're going to learn it for your gun. And so when you see an animal at 225, I'm not sure if you're in the hunting distance anymore once you start getting that distance and beyond. But at least you just know where your gun is. And it's a lot better for me than just holding over what you think 4 feet are on an elk. You know, I mean, you can actually have some sort of reference point.
And I mean, in all reality, I mean, when we sight in our rifles for hunting, we basically do the 100-yard zero, bring it up 2 inches, and that pretty much covers me out to 250 yards.
Yeah.
Right.
And you need to check that. You need to shoot your gun to make sure it works. But, it's an effective point-blank range is kind of what they call it, is whatever you decided your zone is. So for those of you guys that don't know what he's talking about, whatever you decide that your kill zone is. So imagine a paper plate. If you're happy with hitting anywhere within a paper plate, we just need to figure out the distances that where if it's close enough, you'll be hitting the top of the plate, right? So call that, I don't know, 100 yards if you want. 0 to where you're in like the top third of the plate, maybe. That's a better way to do it. And then see how far you can move that plate out, and with still not adjusting your elevation, just aiming at the center of it, and see how far back you can go before the bullet's at the bottom of the plate. And if you can get out to 250 or 300 with that, well, then you know that for anywhere from you to 300 yards, just aim straight in the center of the kill zone, and you're going to either be a few inches high or a few inches low, but that's called an acceptable hit. And that range for your cartridge and your gun is going to change. But if you know that, man, that's a great tool, especially for hunting.
Yeah, and then the issue I had with the BDCs was I don't shoot the gun enough to remember all those spots in it. Right?
Correct, which is why I think the hunting is nice, because you got like 1 or 2 to worry about. That's it. Right. You know, and I wouldn't even worry about the second one at all, just the first one. You know, for me, it's 225. Great. Anything between 100 and 225, I'm going to just gradually hold a little higher or lower between those 2 marks. You know, it's just nice having a nice reference point, that's all. So get one of those BDCs if you want, but don't get one for a caliber and expect it to actually work for that distance. If you're doing any kind of tactical or anything shooting where you want to be able to adjust your distances, don't do it. Instead, get a reticle that has hash marks or measurements that match your turret. That's more important than deciding between minutes and mils. Getting one that matches your turrets, so so you can dial or things like that. So cool,
Yes,
man.
learn from my mistakes. I tried to be cheap and try to start off with that, and it did not go very well.
That's funny. Well, you're learning. That's cool, man. I'm glad it's working out. I actually caught myself in a problem that not only did I borrow the Barrett Fieldcraft because Barrett wanted me to, but also because I didn't have a single hunting rifle ready to go. Yeah, I got the opportunity it was like the night before, seriously. And my buddy's like, hey, man, you want to go hunting in the morning? And I'd get up like at 3 to make it out there. I'm like, heck yeah, I want to go hunting. And I went, oh, crap. I have a safes full of guns, and not a single one of them was ready to go hunting because I don't know about you, but I ended up getting too many guns and scopes get switched from this one to that one, and I don't know which ammo I was using, and none of them were really great for hunting. And all the hunting rifles I had, like my dad's old 30-06 I would have brought, but I'm like, well, one, these are just big dogs, these deer. I don't know if I want a 30-06. But even then, that's a brand new scope, and I forget if I zeroed that scope or not. Oh, and I got this Tika 308, but it doesn't have a scope on it. And then this one, it's like, and oh, I'll just bring a 223, but that scope that's on there now, I think I took it off of that gun. I got so out of control that I don't even know what I had anymore. So I'm making it a point. I want to try by the end of this week just to get out to my favorite range, which is for long range shooting, and just bring hunting rifles and just at 100 yards, like actually get them zeroed. And I might even take a piece of masking tape, Jason, and put it on the rifle and say, zeroed with this ammo, go hunt. You know, so I can just grab something and go. I guess that's the problem with any hobby is you get enough crap before you know it, it actually is a detriment to have so many things because you don't know what to grab and go. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, we don't have that issue with our hunting rifles, man. All the hunting rifles are on one side of the safe. They don't get touched unless we go hunting, and then all the player rifles are on the left side of the safe.
Well, I think my buddy was shocked when I said that. I'm like, I'm not a rifle hunter. I don't have like the hunting rifle to go. If I want to go hunting, I usually grab a bow. Right? My bow's zeroed. That's good to go. But yeah, just the rifles it's not. So now I finally need to get at least a hunting rifle ready to go. So we'll go with that. So cool, man. Well, do you have anything else you want to cover tonight? Because we've already gone quite a while.
No, I'm good, man. Like I said, I'm working hard to try to give you guys some feedback on my Cerakote project. Hopefully it goes well, and I will try to keep you updated as it goes. Like I said, this weekend the goal is test painting with some water-based paint, and hopefully sandblasting this weekend. So wish me luck, I guess is.
All right, man. We like to hear the update, see how it works. And by next week's podcast, I think we should be able to start talking about my made-at-home non-Glock, and we'll take pictures, and I'll talk you through the whole process and the choices I made. And if we stretch it out over a few episodes, maybe we'll go through the whole build and then go out and see if it blows up in my hands or if it actually works, and what it does. So yeah, I hope not too. I'm gonna have someone else shoot it. I'm gonna go to the range and be like, hey, check out my new toy. You want to shoot it?
Get one of those things like they have where they clamp the gun when they try to like shoot a sword and split a bullet where you have the long string and
a ransom rest. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'll just bring a vise out to the range, clamp it in there, get a long string, and get a bunch of funny looks. So I'm sure it'll be fine. So
now, what are you gonna mill it out with? Are you gonna use a Dremel tool or are you gonna use a little router?
I don't know. I'm one of those guys that subscribes to the bigger hammer theory, so I'm guilty of going and grabbing a bigger hammer when something's not working, which means I also like a Dremel. I might regret it sometimes because I might do too much. So I'm hesitant to use a Dremel because I don't want to screw it up. I was actually thinking about using a drill press because the jig that this system comes with has it all marked out and easy to go. Not only are the holes lined up on the side to use just a hand drill, but apparently it's really easy to use a drill press because it's just plastic. So that's what I might do is a drill press.
With like a metal sleeve that you can use as like a bearing so you don't go too far where you're like actually following an edge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think the jig is just a harder plastic that goes around it. And I think if I'm just gentle, I'll be able to feel the difference because there's no metal in the frame yet. So when you're done milling it out, then you snap in the rails for the gun. So you're really just cutting into Glock type plastic. You know, and then the jig looks like it's a much harder, glossier plastic that goes around it. So I think it's just going to be taking my time. I think it'll be really easy to do. And if I screw it up, I screw it up. I'll get another one and try it again.
You could go with like a longer end mill bit. That way you have the smooth part of the shaft running against your harder plastic. You know what I
I
mean?
think you
can
have
get
that
different
anyway
that way.
because they send you the drill bits with the kit. They send you the bits that come with the kit, and I think the fatter one is not only a flat bottom to it, so you don't have the typical, angle to the bottom of a drill bit that's meant for starting a hole. I think they send you kind of a mill bit for a drill press already. So
That'll be interesting.
yeah,
In
they'll
my
be able to feedback
experience,
too, is how easy it was to do and what happened.
yeah, because my experience with plastics are 90-degree corners are bad. You should always have like a little radius in there.
Oh, really? Just because of the strength
Uh,
issue?
so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'll see how it goes. I'll be able to report back. So, all right, guys. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Give us feedback if you liked it better on Facebook here live or if you like it on YouTube. Jason, as always, man, thanks for tuning in, and we'll get this podcast up as soon as we can.
All right, guys. Take care. Appreciate